Upon first inspection, what could a PG family film about a baseball field and an R-rated car chase comedy have in common? While both films are grossly different from one another on the surface level, there are more similarities than you could imagine. Both films detail themes of blind faith and hope while following the classic structure of Joseph Campbell's Monomyth. Joseph Campbell's structure of the Monomyth, also referred to as the hero's journey, is derived from Campbell's book The Hero with a Thousand Faces. It was also refined by Christopher Vogler in the 12-stage hero's journey. It's a common structure for films more commonly associated with epic stories of fantasy and majesty, such as Lord of the Rings, the original Star Wars trilogy, even The Black Cauldron. The Monomyth typically follows the three-act structure and details the progression of each hero's quest. The structure dictates that over the 3 acts of the story, the hero must transition from their ordinary world in the beginning to a special world, where the majority of the quest will take place. Then, back to the ordinary state of life at the end. The key to this is that while a character returns to the status quo and their normal surroundings, the hero has been changed fundamentally in some way by their journey. Despite the stark differences in story, both films can be boiled down to essentially fit the Monomyth structure, beat for beat with very little variation from this outline. This is where the concepts of faith and hope become so important. In both The Blues Brothers and Field of Dreams, faith is the driving force for the heroes to accept their tasks and begin their quests. In the beginning of the respective films, the heroes are reluctant and wary of accepting the task before meeting with the mentor figure that sends them off into the special world of the quest. Planting that seed of faith, as long as they stay on the track of the noble pursuit, things will turn out as they should. The transition into the special world in Field of Dreams, while significant, is fairly subtle, as the change coincides with the physical introduction of the mentor figure, Shoeless Joe Jackson, when he emerges from the cornfield onto the baseball field for the first time. The Blues Brothers, however, shows a very dramatic transition. After meeting with Curtis, the handyman from the orphanage Jake and Elwood were raised in, he tells them to visit Reverend Cleophas James and listen to him speak. At this point, with the first choreographed musical number, the movie officially becomes a movie musical and marks the brothers moving from the ordinary world to the special world of their mission. In both films, the protagonist must take a leap of faith and rely on and trust in the forces that control the quest to keep them out of trouble and lead them where they need to go. This includes the collection of allies, resources, and facing the trials that are essential to the 3-act structure. For Ray Kinsella, he must trust the voice that he keeps hearing to lead him in the right direction to who he's supposed to be helping, and that in the end of the journey it won't have been for nothing and cost his family their home. In the case of Jake and Elwood Blues, their belief that they're on a mission from God drives them to get their band back together and raise the money needed to save the orphanage. They do this by breaking parole, causing trouble with other musicians, driving the Illinois Nazi Party off a bridge, and narrowly avoiding murder attempts from Jake's ex-fiancée, played by Carrie Fisher. The most important step of the hero's quest in relation to faith is the cyclical nature of the hero returning to the ordinary world with a fundamental change in their view of that world. In a way, this is the ultimate test of faith in that, as the film ends, the characters are at peace with where their journey has led them, and it's where they're meant to be. In The Blues Brothers, the film ends as it begins, in prison. A different prison, mind you, but still a prison. Yet a shift has occurred. After the whole movie of Jake and Elwood evading capture, they give in after their quest is finished. The final scene does take place in a prison mirroring the beginning, but this time, instead of the bleak walk Jake takes alone, with the band scattered across the state, the whole band is together performing the Jailhouse Rock. The tonal change is indicative of the fact that, while they ended up in prison, this is where the path was headed, and Jake and Elwood are content with the end of the quest. The theme of faith in a more traditional sense is apparent in the classic 80s SNL spinoff The Blues Brothers from the get-go. We're on a mission from God. The famous catchphrase of Jake and Elwood Blues for the duration of the film even seems to grant them an almost supernatural amount of luck in their endeavors. Though the film initially seems to follow the absurd antics of a group of felons as they gallivant across the city of Chicago, messing with people's lives for one last concert, there's actually a deeper undertone of hope for the future of their former home, and faith that they are doing the right thing despite their misguided methods. In Field of Dreams, Ray's mission to ease his pain ends where it began, on the baseball field. The film closes with a final leap of faith. With the prospect of financial ruin staring the family in the face, Ray makes the final decision to trust that people will come to see the field and that they will all be okay. He's rewarded for his faith and his cause when the film ends with a line of cars stretching onto the highway from his property. The end of Field of Dreams emphasizes the distinction between the most quoted line from the film and the most quoted speech from the film. Both of these lines deal with faith in different circumstances. If you build it, he will come. This quote sadly falls into the list of the most frequently misquoted lines, joining the ranks of such gems as "No, I Am Your Father" from Empire Strikes Back, a film also featuring James Earl Jones, and "Good Morning" from Silence of the Lambs. If you build it, he will come is the catalyst for the story, driving Ray to go on his journey and mend the relationship with his father, and subsequently give his father the opportunity of new life through the baseball field. This phrase and the subsequent requests from the disembodied voices are what initially gives Ray the call to action, and the trust in this voice is what drives the quest. The misquote of "if you build it, they will come" is in reference to Terrence Mann's speech at the end, which encourages Ray not to lose hope for what the field could symbolize and mean to people. This speech convincing Ray that people will inexplicably come to see the field and watch the ghost play is the element that cements his faith in the cause and the good that could come from it. So, I've been talking about themes of faith and hope in these movies the entire time, and if you notice, I don't use them interchangeably because they're not. The concept of faith as being removed from religion, as well as a concept separate from hope, is difficult to conceive. With religion, these ideals seem so intertwined that instinctually we assume faith means the same thing as faith with a capital F, and the two are intrinsically linked to hope. As brilliantly said by the late lyricist and Rush percussionist Neil Peart, "I don't have faith in faith, I don't believe in belief. You may call me faithless, you may call me faithless, but I still cling to hope and I believe in love. And that's faith enough for me." Faithless, from Rush 2007's Snakes and Arrows album, is played after another song on the album titled Hope. Despite the fact that this is entirely instrumental with no lyrics, the song is aptly named. It sounds like hope. Faith, with a capital F, is a matter apart from faith, the concept. Faith, as it pertains to religion, as a core belief is intangible and unreliable unless you have faith. Belief, blind faith, are practically meaningless without the reckless trust, a leap of faith. Trust and hope, despite being a separate entity, are the root of faith as a principle, and the principle of faith is what leads to faith in the religious sense that we think of with a capital F. The true meaning of faith is not only blind trust in the force outside of the self, it is also the belief and hope that your moral compass is pointed where it needs to be, and that eventually it will be revealed that you are doing the right thing. Hope, on the other hand, despite being a small part of the concept of faith, is entirely different. Hope is what makes people uniquely human. While typically thought of as either a common verb or an optimistic pipe dream, hope is something that is necessary to the experience of being a person. Without hope, there would be no drive to continue living. Both Field of Dreams and The Blues Brothers are stories of the hope people hold for the good found in the world, as well as the faith that they are capable of bringing that good. Though benefits do come to the characters personally during the respective films, ultimately, both of their missions are for the good of other people. I feel like these both carry powerful messages of what can be accomplished if one has faith in their own ability to do good and hope for a better world.